Marianne Cooper never wanted to be on the HOA board. She just wanted to pay her dues, keep her roses alive, and avoid those neon violation slips the board loved to tape to everyone's door. But somehow, her sarcastic comment at the annual barbecue, "You guys need someone with common sense on that board," got written down as a nomination. By the time she realized what happened, she'd won the open seat by default. No one else volunteered. The outgoing treasurer handed her a binder thick enough to stun an ox and muttered, "Good luck, you'll need it." At her first meeting, Marianne met President Gerald Whitcomb, all polished smiles and polished shoes, who ruled the table like a feudal lord. He barely acknowledged her before launching into a 20-minute monologue about streamlining assessment procedures. Marianne noticed things right away. The numbers in the budget didn't add up. Line items for miscellaneous landscaping were ballooning. A $25,000 expenditure was marked simply "Special Project, Approved." When she asked questions, Gerald just smiled and said, "Don't worry your pretty head, Marianne. HOA accounting can be complicated." Marianne decided to do her own digging. She started small, walking door to door in her cul-de-sac, chatting with neighbors about dues increases. "Have you noticed they went up again this quarter?" she asked. Most shrugged, but a few whispered, "Complaints. We paid for a new playground 2 years ago. Where is it? The board keeps hiring the same contractor even after that botched fence job. I heard Gerald's nephew owns the landscaping company." Meanwhile, Gerald turned on the charm, calling Marianne to check in, even dropping off tea. A bottle of wine on her porch with a handwritten note, "Welcome to the board. Teamwork makes the dream work." At the next meeting, Marianne asked for receipts on the $25,000 special project. Gerald's smile froze. "They're being finalized. Don't slow us down over a little paperwork." The other board members, 2 retirees and Gerald's golf buddy, nodded obediently. Afterward, Marianne spotted the treasurer's old binder in the HOA office trash. Inside were handwritten notes, "Whitcomb transfer, not approved," and bank statements missing. Her heart pounded. Someone had been tracking Gerald's moves before she ever showed up, and they'd been silenced. Late one night, Marianne parked outside the HOA office, a converted shed near the clubhouse, and waited for Gerald's Mercedes to leave. Inside, she rifled through file cabinets, finding nothing but neatly organized emptiness. Too neat. Then, she spotted a small steel lockbox tucked behind cleaning supplies. No key. Marianne took it home anyway, wrapped in an old grocery bag. Breaking it open the next morning with her neighbor's hammer, she found bank statements showing transfers to Whitcomb Holdings LLC, invoices from fake companies charging for landscaping, pool repairs, even sidewalk beautification. A list of residents flagged for foreclosure proceedings, all older couples or single parents behind on dues. Gerald was circling them like prey. Marianne realized this wasn't just sloppy accounting. It was embezzlement on a massive scale, and if she confronted him outright, he'd crush her. She needed proof strong enough to take to the entire neighborhood, or the authorities. Marianne began laying traps. She asked Gerald innocent questions in front of others, noting how he squirmed when money came up. She quietly photocopied every suspicious document. But Gerald wasn't stupid either. Soon, she got her first warning. A violation notice taped to her door, unapproved paint color, immediate correction required. The next week, trash can left visible, $250 fine. The message was clear: back off, or we'll ruin you. At the next board meeting, Gerald blindsided her with a motion to remove her from the board for creating discord. The vote went 3-1, only Marianne dissenting. But HOA bylaws required a full neighborhood meeting to finalize her removal. That gave her 2 weeks to rally support. She knocked on every door, telling neighbors what she'd found. Some believed her. Some were terrified. Others whispered, "Be careful. Gerald has friends in City Hall." Meanwhile, Gerald turned the heat up. Letters from HOA lawyers, threats of foreclosure for unpaid fines, and even someone slashing Marianne's car tire. The fight was no longer about money. It was about control. The night of the removal meeting, the clubhouse overflowed. Residents who'd never attended a single HOA event showed up, buzzing with rumors. Gerald wore his trademark smile, but his eyes were cold. "Neighbors," he began smoothly, "we have a disruptive board member spreading false information. We need unity, not division." When Marianne's turn came, she stood up with shaking hands and held up the photocopied bank statements. "This isn't false. Gerald has been stealing your dues. Here's proof of $100,000 transferred into his own company." Gasps rippled through the room. Gerald tried to laugh it off, calling them fabrications, but then Marianne dropped the final bomb. "And here's the foreclosure list. You were next, Mrs. Duffy, and you, Mr. Alvarez." The crowd erupted. People shouted questions, demanded explanations. Gerald's calm cracked. He yelled at residents to sit down and shut up, sealing his own fate. The vote to remove Gerald wasn't even close. Police escorted him out when Marianne presented the Lockbox documents, but it wasn't over. The HOA bank account was nearly empty. Gerald had bled them dry. In the weeks after Gerald's arrest, Marianne became acting president. It was a thankless job, negotiating with contractors, halting wrongful foreclosures, rebuilding trust. The neighborhood was angry and scared, but something surprising happened. People started helping. The retired accountant down the street volunteered to audit the books. A young mom ran the HOA website. Even the grumpy guy with the constantly barking dog showed up to plant flowers around the clubhouse. Marianne learned. What Gerald never understood, an HOA wasn't about power. It was about people taking care of their own community. The local news picked up the story. Other neighborhoods called Marianne for advice on fighting corrupt boards. And one night, sitting on her porch with a cup of tea, she realized she'd become something she never planned to be, a leader. When the next election came around, the neighborhood voted unanimously to keep her on as president. This time, Marianne didn't try to talk her way out of it. She smiled, stood up straight, and accepted. The boardroom coup was complete.